Have you ever wondered why on some nights, even when you're completely alone at home, you still feel like someone's watching you? Halloween is strange. A mix of laughter and fear, of masks hiding faces no one really knows. It's the one night people dress up as demons without guilt. But no one ever asks, what if the real one decides to show up? That moment when the lights go out, a cold wind seeps through the window cracks, and the crunch of dry leaves echoes underfoot. It's exactly when your brain whispers, you're not alone. But your heart begs you not to believe it. For most people, Halloween is just a party. But for some, it's the beginning of a nightmare that never really ends. The stories you're about to hear are real. They happened. Some people still refuse to talk about them because every time they remember, they feel that something is still watching. From that same dark corner you're staring at right now. But I'm here to tear down the wall between imagination and reality and show you what truly hides behind those smiling pumpkin lanterns. Just be warned, at the end of this video, a real secret will be revealed. Something the police refuse to release. And if you dare, stay with me till the end, because what you're about to hear might just make you sleep with the lights on tonight. That Halloween night, it was strangely cold. The kind of cold that comes neither from winter nor from the wind, but from something you don't know what, but you feel like someone is watching you from behind. Lucy, a 10-year-old girl who has always been afraid of the dark, was alone that night. Her parents had gone to a neighborhood party, and they had said they would be back soon. Just keep the TV on so you wouldn't be scared. But as soon as 9 o'clock passed, a strange feeling filled the house. The TV suddenly hissed, the picture cut out, and that white and gray light filled the entire room like a fog. Her dog, Max, stood in front of the door, growling softly, his tail down, his ears pricked, and his gaze fixed on a spot just beyond the front door. "Is anyone there?" Lucy called out, but only the wind came in through the half-open window and stirred the curtains. She walked to the door. The lights flickered, went out for a moment, then came back on, then went out completely. Now only the light from her cell phone illuminated the yellow walls of the house. Every step she took, the creaking of the wooden floor, was like the earth breathing. When she reached the door, she pressed her ear to it. There was no sound except the sound of her own heart beating fast and irregularly. Suddenly, from behind the door, a soft, drawn-out voice came. A voice like a child's. "Can I play with your doll?" Lucy froze. She just stood there for a few seconds. Then she laughed, thinking that maybe it was a neighbor's joke. She went to get her favorite doll, the one with long golden hair and a purple dress. She bent down and put it in front of the door. She said, "Take it but give it back quickly," and laughed. But when she was about to turn back, there was a sound of something dragging on the floor, as if the doll was being dragged through the door. Lucy turned and threw the light of the mobile phone on the floor. The doll was gone. She gasped. Her dog started howling. For a moment, the electricity returned. The white light hit her eyes, and when she looked, on the wall, in big red letters, it was written, "Now it's your turn." Lucy didn't scream. She just backed away, bumping into the wall and sitting on the floor. The mobile phone fell from her hand. Its light spun and fell on the doll, but the doll was no longer the same doll it had been. Its eyes were open, and a tiny shadow could be seen in the whites of its eyes, as if someone was watching from the other side. The next morning, when Lucy's parents came home, they found her sitting on the floor by the front door, eyes wide open, staring at nothing, motionless. Sunlight slipped through the dusty curtains and fell across her face. There was a strange, glassy shine in her eyes, the look of someone who had seen something they were never meant to see. Her father called her name several times. She didn't move. Then, slowly, she lifted one trembling finger and pointed toward the wall. There was nothing there. No red writing. No trace of blood. Her mother said gently, "See, there's nothing, sweetheart." But Lucy whispered, her voice dull and drained. "He erased it himself. He said he doesn't want anyone to read it." The tone wasn't hers anymore. It sounded like someone else was speaking through her. A few hours later, the police arrived. They concluded that maybe someone had broken in, scared the child, and she imagined the rest. But one young officer, Adam, frowned and said, "Something's not right here." That night, the power went out again. Lucy's father sat in the living room, smoking, when he heard a whisper coming from her room. He walked closer, quietly pushed open the door. Lucy sat on her bed, her back to him, hair covering her face. She was talking, softly. He asked, "Honey, who are you talking to?" She didn't answer. She just said in a voice too calm, "No, I don't want to play tonight. He promised he'll come back next Halloween." Her father froze. "Who promised, Lucy?" She turned slowly, smiling, a thin, cold smile that had nothing human in it. She said, "With my friend." That night, her father hid a recorder in her room. In the morning, he played it back. At first, only breathing. Then, Lucy's voice. And then, another voice. Low, female, heavy, and calm. "I'm awake." He rushed to her room in panic. She was asleep, but the doll on the windowsill, its face had turned toward the door, as if listening. Later, a psychologist said, "It's just a defense mechanism. The child's mind talks to its own fear." But there was one thing they couldn't explain: the frequency of that recorded voice. It was lower than any human voice could produce. When an audio specialist analyzed it, he said, "The frequency's below the human threshold. It's closer to what deep-sea sonar devices pick up, something between a human and a machine." After that, it was over. The family moved out. But from that Halloween onward, every year at 9 p.m., the new residents of that neighborhood say they hear it. A dog's howl and a child's whisper at the door. "Can I play with your doll?" And those who answered were never seen again. House number 13. An old mansion, rotting quietly beside an abandoned highway north of the city. 2 floors, cracked walls, paint peeling off like tired skin that wanted to escape its own body. No one went near it anymore. They said anyone who entered on Halloween night, one of them wouldn't come back. But for 3 film students, it was the perfect chance, the perfect place to shoot a thrilling found footage documentary. Sam, Nadia, Chris, 3 curious friends, armed with cameras, flashlights, and a level of confidence that would soon turn into pure regret. It was almost midnight when they arrived. The air was thick with the smell of rot and wet wood. From under the door came a faint draft, a mix of damp soil and something metallic like burned iron. Nadia frowned. "What's that smell?" Chris laughed. "Probably a dead rat." The door creaked open, long and heavy, like the house was exhaling after decades of silence. Their flashlights cut through the darkness, illuminating walls covered in black writing, twisting, coiled symbols like ancient prayers or spells. "Look," Sam whispered. "There's a signature, dated 1989. At that moment, faint footsteps echoed from upstairs. No one said a word, but all 3 felt their blood turn cold. Chris raised the camera. "Let's record this." The lens refused to focus. The light flickered violently, as if something invisible had brushed past it. When he finally adjusted it, a half-blurred figure appeared in the frame. A shadow climbing the stairs, upside down. Its feet on the steps, its head dangling toward the floor. Nadia didn't scream. She just stumbled back, pressing against the wall. Her hand touched something cold. She turned. A framed photo had fallen. An old family portrait. A father, a mother, a little girl. But all their eyes were scribbled over in black ink. On the back of the photo, a single line was written. "They're still here." Sam whispered, "Let's go back downstairs. It's just a prank, right?" But before they reached the door, it slammed shut with a deafening bang. The flashlights went out. Total darkness. And from upstairs came a soft, eerie tune, a child's voice singing a lullaby. Nadia's voice shook. "It's getting closer." Then, something dropped from above, a doll, falling right in front of them, wearing a purple dress. The same purple dress Lucy's doll had worn years ago. They froze. No one spoke. Then one flashlight flickered back on, and the beam caught the ceiling. There, written in blood, in large, dripping letters, "Return is not a lie." The next morning, a police car stood parked in front of house number 13. The sun refused to rise through the thick, gray fog. cold vapor clung to the ground like smoke from something that had died long ago. From inside the rotting walls came a faint, broken sound, a whisper, or maybe breathing. When the officers broke down the door, they found Nadia sitting alone in the center of the dusty living room. Her hair tangled, eyes hollow, face pale as chalk. She still held Sam's camera in her trembling hands. The lens was shattered, the tape inside completely empty. When an officer gently asked her name, she whispered, "I didn't want to come back. She made me." Her voice was flat, lifeless, as if the words belonged to someone else. They took her to St. Mark's Psychiatric Hospital, where from that night on, every year on Halloween, she would mutter only one sentence. "She's still at the top of the stairs." Doctors said her memory had fractured, that her mind erased a part of reality so she could survive. But there was something the doctors couldn't explain. On her neck were 2 black burn marks, thin, finger-shaped, perfectly pressed into her skin. When asked what caused them, Nadia said softly, "When I closed the door, she touched my neck and said, 'Don't forget my signature.'" Police recovered the broken camera. They extracted the tape, only static and distortion, but beneath the noise was a faint, rhythmic sound. When they enhanced it, a child's voice whispered through the static, "Now it's their turn." The audio analyst said, "This isn't a normal sound wave. It's layered, like it's hiding something visual." When they ran a spectrogram, the sound turned into an image. 3 people, seen from above. But one shadow was hanging from the ceiling. Nadia was still alive, but her shadow on the image, it moved, independently. A doctor said, "It's probably a mental projection." But an old detective muttered, "No, it's not a shadow. It's a mark. This house marks one soul every year to keep itself alive." After that, the police sealed the mansion. But every year on Halloween night, locals say the door is found slightly open again, and the porch light turns itself on, exactly at midnight. You might think all of this is just a bunch of scary stories, the product of frightened minds and overactive imaginations. But the truth is this: the human brain is afraid of darkness, not because it's dark, but because it can't see the end of it. Scientists say there's a tiny part of your brain called the amygdala, the fear detector. Its job is to analyze every flicker of movement, every whisper of sound, every shadow that shifts, to decide in a split second if it's danger or nothing. But in the dark, the amygdala loses control. With no clear image to process, it starts creating its own. That's why you see shapes move. That's why you hear footsteps. That's why you feel eyes on you. Because your brain has to fill in the silence with something. So when you're alone at home and you suddenly feel someone watching you, it's not a ghost. It's your brain painting fear over the unknown. But here's the terrifying part. Scientists once tried to recreate that feeling in a lab. They put a subject in a dark room, told him he was completely alone. There was nobody there. After just 4 minutes, his breathing quickened, cold sweat on his skin. He turned and whispered, "Someone's behind me." When they turned on the light, No one was there. But the motion capture footage showed something impossible. His shoulders twitched, as if someone had tapped him from behind. And in the last frame of the video, a faint shadow appeared beside him, one that didn't move with his body. The researchers called it a visual glitch, but they all knew what it meant. There's a thin line between mind and reality, and once you cross it, you don't come back. That night, Lucy, Nadia, and even the man from the police video, they all crossed that line. Real fear isn't about the dark itself, it's about the mind. Because your own mind can build a monster and then forget it ever did. Every Halloween, that line opens again. Millions of minds all thinking of fear at once. And maybe that shared energy is enough for something on the other side to finally come through. So if tonight you think you see a shadow by your window, don't be afraid. Just remember, your brain might be trying to hide something from you. Jack was 32, alone, no family. A man whose job belonged more to the night than to the day. He was the night guard at an old, abandoned warehouse on the edge of the city. Every night at 3 a.m., it was the same routine. A cup of coffee, a dim yellow desk lamp, and a silence so thick it felt heavier than sound itself. But that night, Halloween, the air smelled different, like electricity before a storm. At 2:40 a.m., he heard something. Soft, bare footsteps on cold concrete. Jack stood up, grabbed his flashlight. "Who's there?" he shouted. No answer. He aimed the light down the corridor. Just floating dust, dancing in the beam. He turned to go back and heard the iron door creak open behind him. Slowly, he turned. The door was half open. A gust of cold air made the lamp flicker. He walked to the door, closed it tight, locked it, and sat back down at the desk. Then he looked at the security monitor and froze. On the screen stood a man, right in front of the warehouse door, wearing the same uniform, same jacket, same hat. It was him. Jack's throat went dry. He stared at the screen. The figure raised its hand, and at that exact second, Jack felt movement behind him. He turned around fast. Nothing. Back to the monitor. The man was closer now, only a few feet from the door. The face was blurry, but the details were unmistakable. The same scar on his finger. Jack jumped to his feet, ran to the door, shouting, "Who the hell are you?" He yanked the door open. Only a blast of freezing air met him. No one there. He slammed it shut, rushed back to the monitors, and what he saw made his blood stop. The screen was showing himself, sitting at the desk, right now, but not live, a few seconds in the future. He was watching his own next movements, leaning toward the monitor, exactly as he was about to do. He gasped. No sound, only his heartbeat hammering. Then, on the screen, his other self whispered, "If you don't close the door, he'll come in." Jack screamed, and the power went out. Darkness, silence. The next morning, the day shift guard arrived. The door was open. The coffee was cold, and Jack was sitting at the desk, eyes wide open, no breath. The report said the CCTV footage was recorded 4 minutes after his death, which means after Jack died, someone or something sat down in his place. The face on the tape was blurred, human. But not entirely. If you've been paying attention, you've probably noticed something connecting all 3 stories. Lucy, the girl who stayed home alone and heard the voice at the door. Nadia, the survivor from house number 13. Jack, the night guard who saw himself on the monitor. They all heard the same sentence, the exact same whisper. Now it's your turn. None of them knew each other. No link, no shared history. And yet, it was as if some invisible thread connected them, stretching from deep within the dark. When the police gathered the reports and audio files, a pattern appeared. Every single event had happened on the same date, October 31st, Halloween night. But that wasn't the strangest part. The 3 locations, Lucy's house, house number 13, and Jack's warehouse, were all perfectly aligned. A straight line running north to south across the city. And through the center of that line ran an old erased street, a street that had vanished from city maps decades ago. Its name was Halloway. Some say it's where the word Halloween came from. Old police archives revealed what used to be there. A mass graveyard during the plague era, where hundreds of bodies were buried, unnamed, forgotten. Witnesses back then claimed they could still hear children's voices at night, crying from beneath the ground. Later, the city covered it up and built homes on top of it, but the graves were never emptied. You could explain it psychologically as a collective fear repeating itself through people's minds. Or you could see it differently. What if an ancient presence, a tired spirit buried under centuries of silence, wanted to be seen again? Maybe it starts small, a child's voice behind a door, a shadow in a mirror, a figure on a monitor. Maybe it isn't trying to hurt anyone. Maybe it just wants to be noticed. And every year, on Halloween night, it chooses one person. Always the same type. The one who's most alone. That exact moment, when the lights in your room flicker off and you hear a faint rustle behind your door. That's when it's choosing. And when you hear the whisper, now it's your turn. It means you've been chosen. If you're still here, if you've made it this far, it means your mind is still searching for an answer. And that means you might be one of the ones it's been searching for. Because only certain people stay until the end, the ones who feel something familiar deep inside, a faded memory of a voice they might have heard long ago. You see, science says the brain only remembers what makes sense to it. But what happens when you see or hear something that has no meaning at all? Then the brain does the only thing it can. It hides it, buries it deep beneath layers of memory, like a secret that never wanted to be found. But here's the terrifying part. Monsters don't come from outside. They come from within, from the silent corner of your own mind you stopped listening to years ago. And now that part has woken up. I told you, this video isn't just a story. It's an experiment. Everyone still watching right now is part of that loop, that repetition. So before we go on, look around you for a second. Is the light on? Is your phone still in your hand? Did you just hear something behind you? Good. Now, if your heart's beating faster, if you feel like the image on your screen is watching you back, just know, this video was made for you. And if something inside you feels awake now, if you enjoyed this feeling, if it pulled at something hidden in you, then subscribe to my channel. Because the next video is the same story, but real. And now it's time to move on to the part where you finally discover where the shadow came from. So get ready, because from here on, this isn't a story anymore. It's evidence. There was one police file that was never released. Case Holloway, year 2019. A rookie officer had recovered a series of corrupted video and audio recordings from an abandoned house. The same house where Lucy once lived. The same cursed point on that invisible line. The official report stated, date of recording, unknown. Severe electromagnetic interference detected. But what appeared in the footage had nothing to do with interference. The security camera showed a dark hallway. A faint whisper echoed. Two voices talking, too soft to understand. Then static. Then clarity, a clear frame. A little girl standing in the middle of the hallway, wearing a white nightgown, her face hidden by her hair. Behind her, the shadow of a tall man, faceless, silent, slightly swaying. The girl slowly turned toward the camera, tilted her head, and said one sentence. A sentence no one has ever fully understood. They all have something I don't. The image flickered. A blinding flash of white light, like lightning. Then a man's voice shouted in the background, "Don't look!" The officer tried to stop the playback, but the file kept running on its own. The camera turned toward the wall, and there, covering the entire wall, were hundreds of handwritten messages, all in red ink. "We are alive because you looked." In his final written statement, the officer reported, "While exiting the scene, I heard a child laughing behind me. But on the recording, only my own voice is heard saying, 'I can see her.'" 1 week later, the officer disappeared. His last voice message was sent at 3:13 a.m. He was panting, terrified, and said, "It can come through now, because we all looked at it." Then, silence. The police marked the file as urban legend, but a copy leaked onto the dark web. Users who downloaded it claimed that after listening, they heard whispering from the corners of their rooms. The same familiar phrase, "Now it's your turn." And maybe right now, just like them, you felt a faint sound behind you. If you did, don't turn around. Just stay until the end, because there's one last thing left. Up to this point, you've heard 3 stories, 3 names, 3 places, 3 moments in time. But if you've been paying attention, you'll realize one thing hasn't been told yet. None of them were the first victims. They were all just links in a chain that began long ago and still continues. The police thought sealing that cursed line between the houses would stop it. They were wrong, because now, every time someone watches this video, even for just a few seconds, the chain reconnects. And now, you are part of it. I don't know where you are right now. Maybe sitting in a dark room, maybe walking down a quiet street, maybe listening through your headphones. But know this, from the moment you started watching, it started watching you. Not from behind the door, not from the shadows, from inside the image itself. And if, tonight, you hear rustling, a faint whisper, a slow breath behind your ear, don't run, because there's nowhere to go. There's only one thing left to do. Watch the next video, because in that one, you'll finally learn what it really is. And maybe, just maybe, you'll find a way to escape before your turn comes.